All right, we're live.
All right.
Let's do a little cheers real fast for the first inaugural podcast.
I'll tell you what, these Easy
Easy
Riders
Rider.
they're pretty
Cheers to my
good.
water.
Yeah.
Cheers.
These Easy Riders are pretty good. I've already had a couple of them.
Oh, yeah? Let's try these things. Where are these based out of?
San Diego, California. Same guy who runs June Shine. Pretty cool. Rob
Shout out to
Machado.
first sponsor of the podcast, Easy Rider. Even though we're not getting paid anything, we're still going to enjoy their beer tonight. So
This is what Modern Tinder is and Easy Rider is, just being around a campfire, enjoying
Absolutely.
beer, enjoying fun times together with friends, and I think that's what the whole idea is. So, Easy Rider, let's work together. Let's make something happen.
well, that's part of the reason why I want to have you on the podcast. First off, I want you to introduce yourself, who you are.
I am Justin Watson. I am from San Clemente, California. Introduce myself. I don't know. San Clemente, California, Justin Watson. I guess that's about it. Modern Tinder intern. I'm very blessed to have you. I'm humbled by the fact that you think I'm an interesting podcast guest because you've told me some of the people you'd want on here. So
Right.
I don't think I'm a very interesting person, but I'm humbled to know that you think I'm interesting, and humbled to know that you'd want to have me out here and kind of have this journey that we've had since I've been here in Hawaii and going to the Big Island, and it's really cool. So I'm very thankful for it, and it's been a big blessing, and it's been fun. And also John, I think John's a big part of it. Me and John have gotten pretty close since I've been out here. I'm like,
John, go ahead and introduce yourself.
we need him on the
I am
podcast.
the founder of Modern Tinder's younger brother. I think it's been pretty cool watching this all happen, and I've enjoyed having Justin out here as well. Gotten to know him a lot more than I thought I would, so it's very good.
Yeah.
He was a quiet kid, and I think a lot of the stories that we're probably going to talk about, and some of the fun we've had out here, and some of the important things have involved John too. So I think he's important. He's part of the trip out here right now. Part of the past couple weeks in the documentary, and I think he's an important part of it. He's been the glue. He's been the bond.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think usually like in a brother, we have siblings, usually have some that are very extroverted, some that are introverted. I definitely say that you're more on the introverted side. Would you say not?
Yeah, it's because growing up in high school, didn't have my older brother there. He was out doing his own thing.
No, it's
But I'm more
super.
introverted.
It's super interesting, like how your guys' relationship together, like the 8-year difference is very similar, like me and my brothers. And I think that's pretty cool, like the idea, the sense of having an older brother and how that relationship looks with an older brother and how it affects. I think more how it affects the younger brother, because I'm the younger brother too. My brother's 10 years older than me, and I get where you're coming from, John. Like I get it, so I understand being the younger brother and having to deal with that, because it's an interesting dynamic having to deal with the older brother who you don't want to look up to because he's 10 years older than you. You're a teenager.
Sometimes.
You don't want to look. Why would you want to look up to the older brother? You're the teenager. You're a man now, so
It's true.
I get it. I've been there before, so it's cool. But yeah, cool. So
Well, hey, we'll start the podcast. So first off, Justin and John have been out in Hawaii with me for the last 2 weeks. Little backstory, from friends that know me, people that don't know me. Air Force veteran, just graduated from the University of Hawaii. But about 2 years ago, I started this company called Modern Tinder. And yeah, I was just bored. I was doing a sales job. I honestly had thoughts of starting a business before I did sales, and kind of once I did that, I sold pest control over the summer, and I kind of learned the art of sales, and it kind of hit me. I was like, you know what, I'm selling pest control and people are buying it. So I kind of just, took a chance, quit the job, and I went back home to Kentucky from California, drove 33 hours? You haven't. Yeah, America's big. You don't realize how big America is until you drive that vast of a distance. But yeah, I drove back home like in 2 days. Like I was hauling ass, didn't stop, slept in my car. And then I started my business in 2022, and then we didn't start sales until like May 31st, 2023. But
right when I met you, right
yes,
at the same time.
Costa Rica, yes. But yeah, I kind of just want to give a little introduction, just because I know I haven't met a lot of people that have been very supportive of the brand, which I am very grateful for. I this whole trip, and for them at least, I kind of been harping on, it's not just one person. Like if you're going to start something, you kind of need friends, you need family, you need to have strangers that are hopefully going to be your friends one day.
And I don't mean to budge, but I think that's part of what this podcast is like having your brother here, having me here. Is I think the one thing I've learned about Modern Tinder and what the company is it's family, it's friends, it's bringing everyone and involving everyone and understand that everyone's idea is a good idea and that there's no bad ideas and that it's based around having fun around a campfire. So I don't mean to bug you, but that's
no,
what
you're
it
good.
is.
You're
I
good.
don't want to cut in front of you, but that's what it is. So
no, totally. And that's why, when I started this business, I was like, okay, I want to do all these cool things. I want to it's fun to think big, right? It's fun to think about your hobbies and how can we make a brand that reflects those hobbies that you enjoy. So, for me, I love surfing. I love being in the water. Growing up in Kentucky, and you didn't have that growing up, and you only had it when you went to Florida and, like spring break or fall break. But, being stationed in Japan, learning how to surf out there, and then being able to come here to learn and, fall back in love with the ocean. It's been such a blessing. And, I really wanted to create a brand that reflects all these things. And, we want it to be cool. We don't want to be, this is a one-hit wonder. Like, I want to continue to grow this and overcome challenges and obstacles. But, yeah, this is the flagship product. This is the Tinderbox Portable Bonfire. Uses soy wax, which is FDA and kosher, and then our wicks are made out of organic peat moss. And I basically, not bragging on myself, but this is one of the best portable, ready-to-go campfires you can get on the market today. There's no other company that's doing it ready to go in the box, and all you have to do is light it up like you would a candle. But yeah, we wanted to start this podcast. We don't have a name just yet because this is episode 1. But yeah, we've come across some other names and maybe playing off with the last name of me and John. Our last name's Story, and it's I don't know where it's from. Ireland. We're German, Irish, and Japanese descent, but it's obviously not Japanese. But from
it's
Eastern Kentucky.
The only bonfire company with really good hats and apparel too.
Yes, that's part of our new spring launch. ModernTinder.com, check it out, or Instagram at Modern Tinder. But yeah, we just started a new hat launch and clothing. But we'll talk about that later in the podcast. But yeah, I kind of want to jump off of you. This is actually your first guest. John, you're kind of like my co-host for today.
I am.
I think
so I'll let you
John
chime in
here,
a little bit.
John's been part of this trip for me, so it's like I think it's a dual thing.
It's a dual thing,
It's been fun, and I think a lot of my story, at least since I've been here, has to do with John and playing off of it and having fun with it. So
right.
It's been great. But
I want you to go back into who you are. You talked about, I'm Justin, I'm from San Clemente, California, but I want you to talk about how we met and how you got to where you are today, right now.
Yeah, so I guess I'm from Southern California originally. I was born in Redlands, California, so I live currently in San Clemente. I've been there about 6 years now since I was in high school. I moved about midway through high school. Yeah, I grew up in Redlands, California, which is about an hour away from the beach, hour away from San Clemente, and just kind of lived a very normal life. Played baseball, didn't do much, was homeschooled, which is really funny. But I don't think I'm a very interesting person. I don't think my life got very interesting until I started really going after what made me happy and going after adventure and chasing things that scared me. And I think everything that's came into my life that's been a good thing and stuff that has really supported my life and brought me true happiness came from things that scare me the most. And I grew up surfing, but I started surfing when I was 7 years old, and then had to stop for 4 years in high school because I played baseball and my coaches didn't let me. But as a young kid, I had a lot of problems with fear, anxiety. A lot of things affected me, and I wouldn't necessarily want to do things because they would scare me. I'd be like, why would I go do that? It could kill me or it could hurt me. But at the end of high school, right around COVID, which is actually really funny, 2020, I graduated in 2020. I just kind of got tired of that mindset. That mindset started to really bug me and affect me a lot. That was like, why am I holding myself back from having fun times and enjoying things. And I remember actually right in the middle of COVID, it was my cousin's 21st birthday. Colin C-Top, you know him. He brought you Duffy.
Oh yeah, shout out Colin. Yeah,
he's a good guy.
Gotta meet you one day, but you've connected me with some amazing people in California. So
he's a
much love to you.
Nurse in San Diego, actually going for his doctorate now. So he's a very smart guy, and he inspires me a lot. And he's, kind of been like a very silent mentor in my life. But for his 21st birthday, we went up to Mammoth. It was my first time going to Mammoth. I was 18 years old, and it was my first trip without my parents. And we went up there and just camped for like 5 days for his 21st, and we fished. But we did a lot of things that scared me, and a lot of things that bugged me. And it was the first time in my life that I kind of went out and did my own thing without help and kind of pushed myself in things that really scared me. And from that, I just started to have a craving for it, like going out, learning new things, finding my identity in new things. And I surfed from a young age, and I was a pretty good surfer at a young age. But I think going into baseball and not surfing for 4 years, I kind of got like a new anxiety for surfing, which is weird because I grew up surfing. I was really good at it, but this mindset that came from a young age because a lot of things had happened in my life, like I had this anxiety of like, why do I want to go surf? Like stuff can happen. So I kind of forced myself after that trip to get back into surfing. Relearned it, fell in love with it, and fell in love with traveling. I did a really fun road trip with Colin once again that later summer, and we went to 8 different states out of my 4Runner, the whole western part of America, Oregon, Montana, Wyoming. And it was about 2 months of the summer, and had a blast. And from that trip on, I think I really had a big love for traveling and understanding that there's an appreciation you get from being out and new experiences. And I think you have that same bug. I think you understand what I'm saying. And I think that's what this company is built off of, is kind of putting yourself in the outdoors and putting yourself out in an adventure and being with friends and learning new experiences and really enjoying it. And from that trip, I had a big appreciation for it. But I was like, I want to go. I want to go bigger than that. I want to go international. I'd never been out of the country before. And really cool experience right before that. The next summer when I was 20 years old, I'm 21 now, but the following summer I got to go to Israel with my parents and my brother, which was a great trip. But that was my first trip out of the country, and that was my first international trip, and that was fun. But 2 weeks later, me and my buddy Brandon, who you met, we decided to go to Costa Rica for 2.5 weeks and live out of a truck and kind of go experience that. And from that, that's where I met you. And it's been a great year since I've met you. But yeah, that whole Costa Rica trip was a great trip. We met some of your friends, Michael and Ryan, and I think that's a big blessing. Like looking back from Costa Rica, now I'm here and getting to talk to you while I was in school, and just kind of bouncing ideas off each other and learning a lot from each other and learning how to network and all these different things. It's very unique what traveling and adventure can bring into your life. And that's the one thing that I love about this brand, is that's what it does. It brings that mindset of going out and traveling and putting yourself in these circumstances that, scare you a lot, but at the same time, you have friends with you. And that's what the whole bonfire is meeting new people and bringing people together in those experiences. So yeah, that's a little bit about myself. I don't think I'm a very interesting person, but in the last couple of years, I think I've really found out who I am, and went through a lot of adversity and figured out a lot about myself and met good friends like you, and learned a lot from it. And I think Modern Tinder is a great way for me to expand those ideas. So yeah, it's a little bit about me.
Yeah, well, that's a great intro. I'm gonna move a little fast. Sorry, we have cords and don't have wireless mics just yet. But yeah, you talk about adversity. You mentioned anxieties and fears, and I kind of, looking back on my childhood and having my parents, my mom worked, my dad was in the military, so he was gone a lot through deployments and other things too. But yeah, your younger years definitely shape you for who you're going to be when you get older. Either whatever you lack or whatever you crave and desire, right? So, for me, I knew that I wanted to get out there and see the world and travel. And, I think that was such a big blessing that God gave me, because he gave me the ability to learn more about what, hey, I like, what I want my life to look like, And, I think you touched on that of like, traveling, right? Seeing the world. It does open your eye up a lot, and it does allow you to meet some interesting, amazing people that, you would have never did if you just never left where you're at, right? If you're, whether that's your hometown or a city that you just moved to and work, but you don't get out of that. So I think traveling's great in that sense, and that's why I try to encourage others. Like, even some of my friends, I'm always the person that's like, hey, come visit me in Hawaii. Like,
Yeah.
please. I'm not.
It's funny. I thought, like, it's kind of funny since I've been here. You've been telling me all these stories about people that have stayed with you. I'm just like, wow, it's like this guy's always having people.
Yeah.
Come stay. It's so cool.
I love vicariously living through other people and letting them experience things for the first time. I think that's such a cool thing. And like I said, I'm very fortunate to have seen what I've had, and a lot of that was through the military. But once I get out of the military, I knew that I wanted to continue to travel, and I went back to Japan multiple times with some friends, and but yeah, I always encourage people. I'm like, look, you need to get out of your comfort zone a little bit, because the world is your oyster. And one of my favorite quotes, or maybe like a code that I live by, is if you don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. And that's the truth of anything. Like, you can't be delusional, because if you're delusional, or if you think something's not possible, like, somebody else is going to do it. They're just a human being. They're not a god. They're not on a higher level than you are. I mean, they might be more prepared, They might be more disciplined and more resilient, but like, you can still do that. It's just putting your mind to whatever you want to do and accomplish, But yeah, I think traveling allows you to connect with people that, or getting out of your comfort zone at least, will connect with like-minded individuals that are like you, right? And that's why, I think you're such a great fit for, just helping out the company. And, this internship has been awesome. I mean, there's not many kids that can say, oh yeah, got to hang out in Hawaii, got to surf. Sorry, not kids, but, young adults, right? But got to surf, got to dive with dolphins, got to snorkel, got to do the coolest hikes, got to enjoy the beach. And, John, he's also, he's 18 years old, and he's in flight school right now, but he's having a hell of a summer right now. I mean, there's not many kids back in the States that get to experience things like that.
You're gonna go back to school, and no one's gonna be able to say, like, yeah, I was in Hawaii for X amount of time, hanging out, surfing. You learned how to surf out here, and I think it's cool. I think that's one thing I kind of wanted to ask you is, like, how has it been so far, being out here and like helping out a brother with like a small company, and has that inspired you to do anything new, or how has this trip affected you when it comes to going into the school year next year, and kind of your mindset a little bit?
I think so far it's been obviously pretty fun. I mean, I've been out here 2 weeks without mom and dad, because the whole family watched you graduate and everything. But like, getting out of your comfort zone, how you guys were talking, you literally went out to Japan right after high school, basically, for the military. And I'm sure you've done, a bunch of traveling. I think this might be like sort of my first sort of step on that. And I'm grateful for it, because, I just think being away from home, you're not as comfortable, might not have the best bed, or I don't know, it just might not be comfortable overall. But I think I've enjoyed all the views and just living on my own sort of a little bit, even though it's been through you all. I think you guys have opened me up to a bunch more things, to just trying to be open with some things, like go surf, People might obviously think, I don't know. Were you guys like really open to surfing? Like,
you want to hear my first time surfing?
Like, what was
Yeah. I want to hear your first time surfing.
Okay.
And I'll explain my first time surfing.
I have discovered
But mine's
that
kind of lame, I'm not going to lie.
surfing is life. I love surfing.
Yeah, dude.
It's just a sport there's nothing like it. People always compare it to snowboarding. I'm like, well, you have gravity always helping
That's
you
like,
out.
so we went to China Wall tonight, and these guys were like saying, like, isn't it just like snowboarding?
Yeah.
In front of me, I'm like,
It's
no.
nowhere near like that.
It's
and
way different from skating.
2
and
years
surfing,
ago.
Or snowboarding, yeah.
yeah, no, it's a whole different beast. And one of my good friends, Luke Nieberge, another friend of mine, Jackson, he came out here, super ripped guy, like he's stout, right?
He's super ripped. What do you mean by he's just so ripped?
He's yoked.
He's glazing.
He's gonna
this
love
guy.
this that I'm talking about him. But I remember we took him surfing, and he was like, "Oh man, this is hard." Like he was having a hard time paddling, but he's super strong, you know. But that's the thing that I think people forget is that like it's such a hard, like almost like a calisthenic workout because you're always paddling. And I tell people, I'm like, you're going to be paddling 99% of the time, and you're going to be on that wave for maybe 10 seconds if you catch it.
That's
it's
the
all
hardest
worth it.
thing for me is paddling right now.
I think it's more than that. I think it's like it's hard, but it's also humbling.
Oh,
like
100%.
being out in the ocean and just having something like, you know, it's not a lot of times in our lives that we can go, or in our lives as humans and in this world, go to places that really like set you back, and like especially with social media nowadays that just stop you and just make you feel like, well, like there's a lot of things much more powerful than me, you know. And I think the ocean's one of the main things in this world that we can go do or go into and experience that feeling of like, yeah, there's forces out there that are way more powerful than me. Because, you know, even on a small day like today that we went out on, you're still getting rocked by some waves and you feel the force. And it's a force that you don't really ever feel unless you're in the ocean. So I think it's just, I don't know, I think it's the most humbling thing you can feel, and it's beautiful, and it's also really hard. It's really hard on me too. It's not easy, you know.
I'm still a kook after started surfing 2016 unofficially. Well, 2016, yeah, we'll just call it that. What is that? 8 years? Yeah, I'm still a kook. I mean, I'm still learning how to do cutbacks and stuff like that, and getting comfortable with like double overhead. You know, I still love it. I still go out there, but you know, I might not pick every single wave. But yeah, my first experiences, it was fun at first. I caught the bug early because you know they push on the little baby waves. I was up in Turtle Bay. I was on a military work trip, and I was like, I'm gonna buy a surfboard and bring it back to Okinawa. Well, I didn't have any friends that knew how to surf yet. I haven't met Michael just yet. One of my good friends that taught me, but I went out on a big day when there's a typhoon swell, which basically it's like a hurricane swell. Big waves kind of get pushed in before, you know, the storm comes. And I paddle out like a kook, and all of a sudden, I look up, and there's a wave barreling, and a Japanese guy on there, and I make him wipe off his board because I'm like right in his way. And remember how I was telling John to get off his board? Like, hey, if you see a big wave, just get off your board.
Which you didn't. Well, you did do, but you still got yelled at by your local, which
yeah.
is super. Prisoner of 10 years, right?
Yeah.
You know, don't mess with him. But yeah, I didn't jump off my board, and I let the board literally smack me in the face. It's an 8-foot epoxy surfboard, super hard. It broke my nose, and I got thrown over the falls and got like dragged across the coral. And I was like screaming like underwater. I remember it vividly. It was like so much pain because there's only like, I told you, it's super shallow out there, and it picks up in barrels. It's probably like 3 feet. I had some like Okinawan locals like pull me out of the water on the seawall. But yeah, I was scared out of the water. I thought I was gonna die that day, and I honestly probably would have if it wasn't for those locals. But I was a kook, man, like major kook. Of course, you're not going out there when it's barreling, and it's probably like 10-foot waves. But I had no idea because, you know, a lot of people, they see waves from the shore and they're like, oh, I can do that. Like, it doesn't look big until you get out there and you're like, when you're sea level. Pause.
Yeah, but well, we're off pause. Luke's girlfriend had to come interrupt.
Off pause.
We're doing an Easy Rider commercial right here. Can I have another one?
Yes, hang on. Off on a tangent. We forgot we were talking about. We're going to cut this video, but a little beer break. Anyway,
keep it fully after. You were talking about your first time surfing, some Japanese guys.
Pull me out of the water. It's like a 10-foot wall of water. Yeah, you're gonna be basically, more of the story is you're gonna be scared of the water. You're not gonna want to get back in it. Oh yeah, I remember what I was talking about. I was talking about how other people that don't surf, they're like, oh, the waves aren't that big until you're like out there level with it. And you're like, holy shit, these waves have some power to it. But you got to be able to learn how to dance with the ocean. Like, you have to be able to learn how to, like, go underneath the wave when it's crashing, because that's where it's the most volatile and the most energy. But if you can duck dive and, you know, get past it, like, it's a breeze out there. And yeah, it's funny because, like, my first 2 years of surfing, I have so many reef scars on me, like, everywhere on my body, dude. Even wearing a wetsuit, like, effed me up, man.
Places that I shouldn't see.
Absolutely not.
Oh, come on.
Only my girlfriend, yes.
I think
But,
this is. Have you ever watched? I don't want to go off topic, but have you
No.
ever watched Protect Our Parks before?
What is it?
Joe Rogan's podcast, Protect Our Parks.
I'm gonna be honest. I always skip those. I only listen to, like,
Dude, those are the
selected
best.
guests. Really?
Protect Our Parks.
I think I've
where they
listened to
get
one.
Super drunk and they just party, but I was thinking I'm on like a Protect Our Parks podcast because I just spilled beer all
Beer
over
all over
myself.
you?
But
But yeah, surfing is hard. Moral of the story, and yeah, John's been on a few waves out here, and
I could give a little bit of my insight.
tell about how we took you out to Diamond Head.
Okay. So
Mom's not gonna,
basically-
Mom won't listen this deep into the convo.
yeah,
or
Mom,
the,
let's get
podcast.
off the viewing.
But he had
Okay.
a 8-foot Wavestorm surfboard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it didn't look so bad. It really wasn't terrible, but I would say I'm still in the beginner stage, of course. But going out there, the paddling was pretty hard because I'm still not used to paddling as much as you all. So I'm, already tired after getting out there. I don't even want to, like, really paddle to get a wave. And then, mind you, they're all doing their own thing, and I'm sort of like, what do I do? Because I'm still kook. And Luke, I think, did you ask me to go get a wave?
I remember. I remember.
Because I don't remember exactly how I didn't see the...
I remember sitting on the inside. I'm sitting right where the waves breaking, and freaking Luke's like, "Hey, John, paddle out. Like, there's a set coming through."
Oh, yeah.
And rather than you paddle out, you just kind of stayed put. You weren't thinking about it.
Yeah. I was
And then
like,
all of a sudden,
how?
I just saw you getting destroyed, and even Luke got destroyed on the inside by a wave right there, and it was so funny. I was like, I saw Luke dive a wave, and he just got smoked off of it. I'm just I'm on the inside chilling because I'm past the break, and I just see you guys just like little ants, and then I see you're gone.
Yeah.
I have no idea where you're at. You've disappeared, and then Luke's just getting smoked, and he paddles in. I was like, oh.
It literally...
I forgot that you were a beginner. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
shoot, John's getting smoked because it was good size.
Yeah,
I
you
had the
said it was
best
like-
POV
it
of
was head
John.
high.
You said it was like, yeah.
Oh, I think it
above.
was like a foot, maybe a foot or two.
I'm not gonna
overhead.
say what size it was because I know California and Hawaiian size are different. If it was California, and if I'm
Yeah.
going off of it, it's like 4 to 5 foot.
Well, I
And
know it
Hawaiian's
was-
a little bit different, but it was head high.
I'm about 6 foot, so I'm gonna add 2 feet to that. I'm gonna say it's about 8.
Hawaiian?
No, not
California.
Hawaiian. Just whatever.
Okay.
8 feet.
It
I'm
was
6
head
foot,
high for
7,
me.
8 feet at the
Okay.
at the biggest, but
Well, for someone
Yeah.
trying to catch their first sort of wave and ride it,
oh,
it was a little high for me, and
Yeah, it was really
obviously I knew that whenever didn't even have my board on me. My board's pulling
You're
me
just on a
with
wave
the wave.
storm, just getting smoked,
Yeah,
dude. Yeah.
my breath's like, I'm holding my breath. Barely gets another breath. Has to go get, I had like 2 more crash on me. Then I'm like, oh shoot, maybe I should pay attention to what my brother's saying now.
Yeah, I was like, jump off your board. Like, if you see a wave come at you, either paddle out to sea. That way you can, like, beat before it, like, breaks over. Or if you can't beat it, outrun it, just jump off your board and let the wave go right over top of you. But, yeah, you were half on your board, half off, and you had to pay the price for it.
I
but
did know to stay calm, which obviously wasn't so bad. It was just, holding your breath for 5-10 seconds. So, and then, yeah, I mean, you told me all the stuff after I needed to know. And then I didn't even want to, like, really do any more trying to catch waves because it was, like, it's kind of big.
Yeah, it can scare you out of the water for sure.
You're
but
getting it back. You'll get it. You're
just
good.
come back to that. And
I did catch one, actually, after all those came in. I was just laying on my board. I'm like, oh, shoot, I'm laying on my board. A little body wave. But, like, I'm a kook, so, like, that's cool to me.
yeah, we're all
So
cute.
I think a little bit off surfing. I'm a little interested. Keep the county country. What does that mean? Because I still don't even really know that much. So what is?
Oh, you talking about the hat?
Yeah, yeah.
Keep the county country. Okay, so this actually has. Okay, I think when you're starting a brand, it's natural for people to be inspired by maybe other brands, their surrounding, their environment. You are a product of your environment. We see that in I'm not going to be like, oh, this is an original idea. I kind of played off of other things. It's the same thing with any majority of other companies, you know? Like you look at Apple, you look at Windows, look at Samsung and iPhone, right? Everybody
Playing
kind
off the
of
culture a little bit.
Yeah, you run off it a little bit, but there's a saying here in Hawaii that is keep the country country. And you see it a lot on like the North Shore of Oahu, Kaneohe, like more of like the windward side where it's a lot more less developed, right? Because we live over here in Manoa Valley right now, and you know really close to like Honolulu and Waikiki, and it's like tourist central. It's like peak tourism. Everything's about tourists, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. I mean, I'm a tourist myself. I'm gonna admit that I'm not from here. I'm from Kentucky originally, you know, but you know, a lot of the locals and Hawaiians, they really appreciate the land and keeping it how it was with Mother Nature. So they're against tourism and other development projects, right? So you'll see signs on like North Shore and up near the mountains that say like keep the country country. I think it's also a company too, because I looked up their trademark and they have a trademark and everything. But you know, I kind of resonate with that a lot. And being from Kentucky, it's very rural. We're originally from Eastern Kentucky. We have a farm out there, but man, it's a bunch of proud people, and people love the living out there, and you know, just living their lives how they are. And I kind of wanted to start a saying with a hat. You know, we call it "Keep the County Country" because Kentucky's broken up in I think it's like 120 counties, and when you meet somebody from Kentucky, not unless it's in Lexington or Louisville, but usually you're like, oh, what county? Or like, where are you from? And you might hear, oh, I'm from Fleming County, or I'm from Round County, or Montgomery, or Fayette County, right? But that's kind of how we identify ourselves in the state. So that's why I wanted to create a hat that says keep the county country, because it is a mix of where I'm from, but it also is a product of my own experiences being out here in Hawaii, and you know, really experiencing and listening and hearing people that are against the overdevelopment. And plus, like, everybody loves country. I love the country. During COVID, man, we would have bonfires on the farm and everything. It like really connects you back to nature. And you know, that's another reason why we have bonfires for Modern Tinder, is because it's the product of all the bonfires I'd have on the farms. And I'm not going to give dates when these were, but even on North Shore of Oahu, you know, just little parties, get together with friends and meet some new friends. And it's commodity for connection. Everybody loves little conversation around a bonfire, as we're doing right now, you know.
That's awesome.
But
so,
yeah, we have that hat. So go ahead, sorry.
I was just saying, tell me a little bit about like, so obviously you went to the Air Force when you were 18. Tell me a little bit about that. Like, you haven't told me about that in person. So what does it look like for you going into the Air Force at 18, and then you do 4 years, you're a boom operator, and then you go to college, and you're all of a sudden starting a company. So tell me a little bit about that, I guess.
Yeah, I'll give you a fast rundown on all that. Yeah, I joined at 18, graduated from Martha Lane Collins High School. Me and my best friend, Jacob Lyons, we both joined same year, 2015. We both got out in 2019. I grew up a lot, learned a lot about myself in Okinawa, Japan. Learn my love for surf. I'm also a quarter Japanese, so I got to really experience like a side of me that I never really got to experience back in the States.
Did you ever, like, growing up, because like I had like a Spanish, because I'm Mexican, Spaniard, I had a mom who was those. Did you ever feel like growing up in the States, I mean, for me in California it was a little bit different. I was kind of close to my culture, but you're all the way in Kentucky, and it's still half of you. You know, you kind of want to experience that culture a little bit. Did you ever feel like you missed that growing up, or no?
No, not really. I was always proud to be like an American. My dad served in the military, so like I never really like, and you know, growing up in the United States, man, there's so many kids that are mixed now. Like you have Asians, you have like, we're all mixed. And it's going to be more and more common as the years go on. But yeah, I never really had any issues of like an identity crisis of like, oh, like what is this that I'm missing? I always knew that was part of like my heritage and everything. And maybe one day I would be lucky enough to experience it. And yeah, that possibility was because of the military. And I kind of knew that going in. I kind of knew that I wanted to get stationed overseas in Japan. Like by sheer luck, I got the last spot to be in Okinawa, Japan, which was really close to the mainland. Okinawa is considered like Hawaii to America. So Okinawa is like the islands to mainland Japan. But yeah, and I guess like identity crisis. No, I never really like felt like I was missing out anything. But now that I have learned Japanese, still learning. I'm not fluent by any means, but now that I've like learned Japanese and lived out there, met some of my distant relatives, like my grandmother for the first time out there, my mom's mom. It's kind of really made me look at how I want to live the rest of my life, and like what is important to me, and what values I want to give to my kids one day. It's like, I want to teach them about their heritage, their culture, because it's all important. It's really cool.
That's great. So I didn't know that's awesome. I didn't know you had the last spot getting into the bonfires.
I think water got in there. So water and oil don't mix, by the way.
That's funny. When me and my friends were around at the beach, we put salt water on it.
Oh, yeah, flares up. Yeah,
super sick. But I didn't know you had the last spot for Okinawa. So what drew you towards Okinawa, and what made you kind of want to do that?
Well, for my job, I was an air refueler. So there's only like 2 overseas spots that you could go, like bases that you could go to. One was in Mildenhall, which is in England, and then the other's in Okinawa, Japan, at Kadena Air Base. So I always knew I wanted to go overseas, just to get away as far as I could possible from home, to get out of my comfort zone, And I think that's really important when you're young, is to challenge yourself, because, as you get older, you're going to probably want to come back home and settle down and start a family. And I'm kind of at that point right now. I'm going to be 28 this year, but, I still want to go travel and see the world. But yeah, I think I knew when I was 18, I wanted to go to see shit I could never back home, and have experiences that none of my friends would have, and that's the thing I kind of go off of, like, if you don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. So like, why not be you? And that's kind of been like a code that I've lived by, like my life, kind of like unofficially, because, I started a business because like, oh, I want to do that. That's cool. Well, if you don't do it, somebody else is going to do it, I want to go to college at University of Hawaii, right? And I get it paid for. Like, let me take advantage of that. Like, why not go, right? I was at the University of Kentucky for 3 semesters, but I had an opportunity to come here and I took it, but that's what I wanted. So I think you have to ask yourself is like, yeah, you could do anything, but do you really want to do it? Because if I didn't really want to start a business, this thing would have died 6 months ago, when maybe sales are dry and I was feeling discouraged or more emotionally thinking, So, oh, bug just fell in there.
Was that a bug that fell in there?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
but yeah.
I love that, challenging yourself, and I think one thing I really like is taking advantage of your stretch opportunities. You have, from a young age, you get a lot of these opportunities that come, that they're stretch opportunities and something's offered to you, and can you take advantage of it, and do you want to? There's people that take advantage of it and there's people that don't, and there's a lot of great things that come from it. Like this, for me, stretch opportunity. I get a trip in Hawaii, but I also get to learn a lot and network, and it's been a blast. So I appreciate it. I think it's really cool what you're doing. I think it's pretty sweet. So what are you laughing at, John? John's over here laughing. He thinks it's funny.
Dude, I can't. It's just, you're like, yo, they're like having a try, or trying to have your conversation.
It's like bugs falling in.
Yo, bugs falling in there. You're like, you hit it. I don't know. It's funny. I like it.
See, John's 18. What do you think about that, John?
19 in a week.
19 in a week.
Yep.
What do you think about those stretch opportunities and taking advantage of them? And
I don't know. I think I don't really just don't know. I think I was honestly spaced out while y'all were talking right there. So I'm not gonna act like I'm gonna give some random answer. I don't know. I think I do want to talk about my 2 more surf experiences though.
Let's hear them.
Okay.
I want to hear them.
All right, get them out of the way. So one of them, I was at Waikiki Beach with you all. Y'all were doing your thing.
At Queens, right? Queens? That's where we're at?
Yeah, Queens.
It was Queens
next to
Beach.
Canoes
Okay.
in Waikiki Beach.
I want to hear this one because you got yelled at Queens Beach. So I want to hear this one.
Yelled at by some dude who's got a little ego, I think, maybe. I don't know. But I was, trying to figure out the whole surf thing still. Catching waves, maybe on my knees or something. I can't figure out really standing up yet. I need to figure out how to, I don't know. I want to figure it out so bad, but I can't. But I was paddling out for waves. Even like my brother's always like, John, go for that one. Because I'm like still trying to figure out the picture of which one I should be going for or not. And then, of course, there's the things dropping in and all that I'm learning. So I'm paddling for this one wave that I have seen that I have to go for,
I
there's
just
like
got burnt by that thing. Why is that bugs going into
I
it?
think so, yeah. There's like those little mosquitoes flying in. Or the big ones are flying in. Maybe that light
Well,
is on up there too. It might be helping.
This is a good mosquito repellent. Right?
Kinda.
I've never seen it do this before. Squirt this much.
Yeah.
it is squirting a lot. But
We'll take this out maybe. No, I'm just kidding.
Ah, it's free roll. We're good.
all right, but we were both, 4 or 5 people would go for the wave. I'm on the very right side, so like I'm on the very end of this wave. I'm going for it. I'm not gonna get it. I realized I wasn't gonna go for it. Like basically get on the wave. I was just sort of paddling, still getting that feel for it. And then the local dude, I don't know if he was local or not. He looked local, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if he was Hawaiian or what.
He's the local from the state penitentiary.
There we go.
From what we learned, he was 10 years in prison.
Yeah, 10 years in prison is what I learned afterwards. But basically, I'm trying to catch this wave. The big old 10-year prison dude, supposedly, caught the wave. Gives me a sign, whistles. I don't know how he whistles like that good, but I was like, oh, I hear the whistle. Let me get off this wave. I wasn't even on it. I wasn't gonna catch it. But afterwards, I turned back around, trying to figure it out, sort of, I don't know, gassed. But I look behind my shoulder and I see the dude who just sort of whistled at me, looking at me with some meticulous look, I'm like, what's this guy want? Because I really don't want to hear anything like, I don't know, like him sort of get mad at me or something. Which he comes up to me, he's like, that was you, yeah? Just like that. That'll probably be in my head for a little bit. I was like, yeah, that was me. What? I didn't say what, but he's like, did you see me on that wave? I was like, I don't really think I did, but that's all I said. He's like, well, look out for me, yeah? I was like, all right, yeah, I'll look out for you. And we both sort of like looking at each other. And we look at each other for like 2 more seconds. Then I look away first, which gives him the, I guess, win of that situation.
He won the situation. You were saying the whole night, he was like, I would have beat that guy up.
No, I said if he wanted to.
He would destroy
I would
you.
This
defend
guy
myself.
spent 10 years in jail for stabbing
like
a kid.
250
18-year-old's going to be like,
pounds.
yeah.
No. What's a 55-year-old look like? I think he looks like that.
No, he was
so
like
an
40,
18-year-old is
bro.
going to fight me.
30s,
But like, I think
maybe.
I just want to defend myself. I'm not going to like just sit there and, I'm a kook, but like, I'm not going to just, you know what I'm saying, get run over by some random
Me
dude.
too.
Yeah, remember the other, like,
I'd be
the
like,
day-
I would have freaking done this, Tim.
Yeah.
Remember the day after too, put my soft top on, because, I'm a kook. I'm getting cut up on my stomach and everything. I was taking the board off the roof, and, it slipped. I didn't take it off good. It fell on the ground. Some lady walking by. She looked like, I don't know, just a little bit of an older lady. Said, that's why you got a soft top on. I didn't know she was talking to me.
She looks like she was from Ohio. Like, I don't know. But it's funny you said. I think that's what this is all about, going around the Modern Tinder and enjoying the fire and telling those
true.
stories, those fun stories. So
I'm kind of glad
Bugs
they both
falling
happened.
in it. They love it.
yeah, it's a fun time. So
Lamp. It's a
I'm glad
lamp. It's a
I'm
lamp
glad
to
those
them.
both happened. So those are my surf experiences so far.
Well, you know what? That's what life's about. It's about having new experiences and doing shit that's gonna maybe hurt you and get you in trouble, but You know, you got to go do them. So, Justin, I want to touch on a few more things before we kind of close up. But talk about okay, let's talk about like this. What do you want to see with this company, and how do you want to see it grow? And like, what do you think? Because this is podcast. This is number one. We don't have a name for it yet. We're still growing it. But what do you think the audience members want to hear on the podcast? Think more like guest style. You know, maybe life advice. Like, what do you think people want to hear nowadays? People our age.
Well, first of all, I'll take another Easy Rider if I could. But you know, I think the most important thing we can do on this podcast, or what you can do, most importantly, is just have fun. Let people. I think it's a bonfire. This whole company started around a fire and a tinder box and telling stories and, you know, just having fun and not thinking about anything and telling stories, telling funny stories, telling dumb stories, telling any story that counts. Talking about aliens, you know, we were on the Big Island and we were talking about aliens for a little bit.
Oh yes, went down the rabbit hole.
I had a hard time sleeping that night, but
me and you have an interesting take on that because we're both Christians. We both believe in God, but there is something else out there.
Yeah.
Just go watch YouTube. Look at the Department of Defense videos that were released by the fighter pilots. Because when I was in the military, I didn't believe in any of that shit. And I think, like, even when I got out the first year, I still didn't believe in that shit. And then it wasn't until, like, COVID happened. I was like, wait. There's a lot of credibility. There's a lot of credibility to this phenomenon, this story, and senators and pilots and fighter pilots and guys that are trained observers have seen some remarkable, incredible things. And you know, but before, I think a lot of people too were just like, oh, this is just, you know, crazy country guy in the woods saw something. But no, go on YouTube. There's a channel called I can't remember the name of it, but he has so many archival interviews and video series of people from like going back to the 60s, 50s sometimes, and all the way up to the present. And it's just like there's so many people all over the world seeing and having an interaction with this phenomenon. And they're all describing the same things, you know. And we didn't have the internet like we did back then, but it's kind of eerie and scary to, you know, how they describe things. There's no noise. There was a ball of light. There was, it was a saucer, and it's just like, I don't know. I find it fascinating, you know, and I think it's really cool. But
we've talked a lot about it.
Like, the last 2 weeks we've talked a lot.
We've gone in depth about it, and I think, you know, I don't think there's something out there. I think there's something for sure going on, and you know, it's a very interesting topic, and I think there's more than we know that's going on within our government, aliens, and a lot of things. But is there something more out there, and does it matter? I don't know if it necessarily matters. It is important to understand that stuff, but it's fun. I want to watch more about the Bob Lazar.
Yeah, we'll finish that one after this.
That you wanted to watch, but
I think you're right. It doesn't matter. I think what matters is humanity and how we treat people, and, you know, creating shit, like creating products for other people to enjoy. You know, that's part of the mission of my company. Is we want to create.
Also having these conversations around here, around
yeah.
these.
I want to create inclusive, you know, experiences that are exclusive to anybody that wants to be a part of it, you know, and, you know, just enjoy the ambiance of a campfire, or that's whether it's through our apparel. But yeah, just supporting humanity and doing what's the best in the best way you can. Now, everything's perfect, but trying the best you can. That's the most important thing at the end of the day, you know.
But I think, going back to the question you asked me, like, what do you think this podcast wants to see? I think it's so cool that you have a box and a tinder box and a bonfire to kind of sit behind, and that's the main idea, is that it's anything. It's like we're camping right now. and we can talk about anything right now. It's
Yeah,
free form.
it's actually the best. It's actually a good campfire because remember we were on North Shore the other day and those guys had a fire and then like 10 minutes later it just died, and it was also very, very smoky.
Yeah.
But we actually had one that we were shooting with, and as we left, we put the lid over it because it's reusable, and I basically gave it to him. I was like, yeah, use this. It's a reusable portable bonfire. It'll last anywhere from 3 to 6.5 hours. So they gave it to them. Hopefully they follow us on Modern Tinder or something.
Yeah, they probably did. But
John, what do you think about that?
Oh, John's gone.
Yeah, John's gone. He went inside. I guess he dipped out of the podcast. But
I think, going to the podcast, I think it's kind of enjoying that, like having the free form that you can talk about aliens. We've talked about aliens a lot, but like I feel like I don't have enough. I don't know enough to want to talk about, or not want to talk about, but have a good, interesting conversation about it. But you can have people that are on here and they can have free-form speech from like some of my friends that you brought up, like Matt Hume and Jack, that are talking about photography with you. You have people that want to talk about politics with you.
Absolutely.
I think it should be just free form. It's a campfire and we want to have fun and we can talk about anything. And
we are a little late to the party though, because there are a lot of people that have already started their own podcast. But what's going to make us different is I think talking about and just having interesting talks with people that we know. It doesn't have to be anything crazy big, but just friends and family of ours.
I think some of the most important people you can talk to are people that are the least heard. It's the people that are just small people that don't have a big following, but they're interesting people. There's a lot of interesting people you can talk to that are out there that work in very interesting jobs. They have a lot of life experience, but they're not going to be pulled by the big people. And I think that's what's really important. I think that's what this does, and that's what this resonates with, is that when you're around a campfire and you're around a bonfire, you talk to anyone. You're just out enjoying nature. There's no rules. There should be no rules. It should be just fun and
talk about whatever you want.
Yeah, whatever you want to talk about. And I think that's what's the most important. Like me and you, we resonate on surf. We resonate on our trips to Costa Rica and traveling. But there's other people that you can meet with that, like, if it's from out here, you have a friend Tarzan who just likes to climb trees the whole time. That's
he would be a great person.
But there's very interesting things I'm sure he would love to talk about. And I think that's the most important thing, is having people like that can bring a very different and creative atmosphere to the podcast. So.
No, that's a good thought. Yeah, and to really touch on like people that don't have a big following, I think. To also add on that, I also think that what's the word for it? Like, you're more real when you're not worried about social media and like, what my presence is or how big of followers I have, because you're not worried about that. And I feel like a lot of people that do have those big presences and those big followers, like, they're not being their true self all the time. Like, they have to put on this persona of who I am on the internet or on social media, and I've met people like that, actually, like out here especially. There's a lot of big creators, and I've worked with some of them, and like they act totally different off the screen, and I don't know, it's just like you vibe with them, you vibe with some of them, and you don't with a lot of them, and it just depends on who they are. But yeah, I think just having great conversation with somebody, that's the most important thing.
It's like
getting to know their life.
It's a facade, and I think social media is a very it's a dangerous thing. And you've kind of talked about it, like with my girlfriend, she kind of has a hard time with social media and how it affects her, and we've talked a lot about it. And even in my own life, like, social media affects me, like the way you look at things, the way you look at companies and the way they advertise. And it's very unrealistic, and it's very detrimental to people. And I think just as young people, it's very hard because we get this unrealistic look on life that we should have this certain house, we should have this certain life, we should have this car, we should have this thing, and we should have this lifestyle, we should be able to travel wherever we want. But it's not realistic. And I think with social media, it kind of pushes that unrealistic lifestyle. And you think back to before we had social media, people were just, they enjoyed their lives as they had it. It was fun to dream. It was fun to dream about living a life in certain destinations, living in the dream. And, you know, if you're from Kentucky in the 70s, it's fun about dreaming about living in Hawaii. But with social media, you have someone that has all these followers, and it's like, oh, that's the life you need. You know, they're making money, they're famous because they live there, but I'm stuck here. That's unfair. And I think it's just, social media is the most detrimental thing, but it's also a very important thing in our society. So learning how can we balance that. And I don't know what that balance is or what it looks like. You know, for me, I feel like I have a pretty good relationship with Instagram and Snapchat and some of these social medias, but like, man, TikTok's a hard one to have a good relationship with. It's just, you know.
We'll support the Chinese government.
Yeah, no, you know, why would I? It's, you have a government that's running a social media, and I already feel like as an American, we have a country that's changing our thoughts and influencing us through social media in a bad way. You have Russian and Chinese troll farms that are a real thing, and you also have a social media ad on top of that, and it's very weird. So
Yeah, I think I've struggled with it. I mean, everybody that I've ever talked to, like not just you two, you know, it's everybody I've ever talked to. Everybody struggles with social media, you know, and you can tell when people delete their apps and they re-download the app, you know. But yeah, I think, you know, at the end of the day, we need to get back to who we really are and be genuine human beings and not let other things manipulate who we are as individuals, and like in conversation as well too, you know. Yeah, hopefully we'll bring some cool stuff to this podcast in the future. This is episode 1. It's not our best one. I hope these 2 cameras are rolling still, because if they're not, this will just be, it'll be audio for the rest of the podcast. But final words before we close out. Justin, before I give you the final word, I just want to say thank you so much, man, for coming out here and really helping me out. I mean, that does not go unnoticed. And to be honest with you, besides my family members and my girlfriend and, you know, John, obviously, there hasn't been many people that have gone out of their way to help me as much as you have, and that is very much appreciated by me. Because I get how busy you are. You're a full-time student. When you're not a full-time student, you're living your life. I don't want this to overconsume. I'm not even paying this kid. He's out here helping me out, and he's a great, awesome guy, and I'm very appreciative. So cheers to you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yes,
I'm humbled by the fact that you'd want me on as your first guest, and it was good getting to talk to you and learn a little bit more about yourself with the Air Force and kind of your mindset behind the company and some of your experiences. And yeah, it was really cool. So I appreciate it a lot. So
yeah. Appreciate you, man. And John's back.
How's it going?
John,
your girlfriend made some pretty good cookies in there, but she ate them all, and I ate a few. So
John disappeared for the cookies.
Yeah.
I did.
Well, John, thanks for coming out. Do you have any final words before we close out?
I think it was a good little episode. I was glad to be a part of it, and it was good to be out in Hawaii with 2 solid dudes and have a little bit of dad lore to my name. My first little bits of it. So
The dad lore. Come on. All right.
John, leave us with an inspirational quote. Close us out. Give us something that's inspirational.
I got you. So in life, you're going to want to try new things. You're going to sort of want to find your thing, right? You don't want to be left without, you know, something cool in life. So I think my quote is, keep throwing things at the wall because eventually it'll stick. Do y'all get that? I think it's pretty cool.
There you go.
We should just stare at him. Don't say anything. Be like, no, we get it. Of course it makes sense. Well, that's it. Thanks, everybody. Cheers.
Thank you.